How many years have you studied English and still go silent when someone speaks to you? You've memorized hundreds of words, passed all the tests, maybe even got a certificate or two. And yet, in real life, when you actually have to use English, your brain locks up like it forgot everything. You freeze, you fumble, you feel small. The conversation moves on without you. And inside, something burns. That mix of shame, regret, and this whisper that says, why can't I just speak like everyone else? Let me guess. People have told you the same generic advice 1,000 times. Just practice more. Watch movies. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Speak with confidence. And still, nothing changes. You might even say to yourself, I know English, I just can't speak it. Let me tell you something brutally honest. That's not because you're bad at English. It's because the way you've been trained to learn it is broken. See, most learners, maybe even you, are stuck in what I call the student loop. You study, you review, you try to remember, you test yourself. But when it's time to speak, your brain doesn't give you fluent English. It gives you hesitation. Why? Because the truth is, you were never taught to think in English. You were taught to translate. And translating is the slowest, most unnatural way to speak a language. It destroys your reflexes, blocks your confidence, and builds a prison around your voice. But here's the good news. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to break your English barrier. Forever. You're about to unlock something 90% of learners will never discover. You walk into a room, someone smiles and says, hey, how's it going? And your brain goes, wait, how's it going? That means, banque kong. So I should say I am fine, or should I say good? No, wait, do I need a subject? Too late. The moment's gone. You missed it. You look awkward, and inside you hate it. This is what most learners don't understand. Speaking isn't just about vocabulary or grammar. It's reflex. It's speed. It's rhythm. It's muscle memory. It's not what you know. It's what your mouth and brain can do together without thinking. Think about fighters. They don't win because they memorize moves. They win because they've trained those moves into their body. Reflex, flow, instinct. But English learners? They sit in classrooms and memorize theory. No wonder they can't perform under pressure. Learning English is like martial arts. If you never spar, you're just reading about fighting. And here's the punchline. Most learners practice the wrong skill. They study passively. They chase perfect grammar. They memorize academic vocabulary. But they never train for real-life speaking, for speed, confidence, and flow. That's why even after 5 years, they still pause before answering the simplest question. I'm telling you now, if you want to speak naturally, you need to train your brain to think in English. You need to build speech reflexes, not just language knowledge. Start with a voice in your head. Narrate your day. Talk to yourself. Pretend you're explaining your life to someone in English. No one's around? Good. That's your training ground. Wash the dishes and say, okay, now I'm cleaning this plate. It's still greasy. I hate greasy stuff. Argue with yourself in English. Tell stories to the mirror. Make English your second brain. And stop being polite when you practice. Don't just say words, feel them. Speak with rhythm. Break the rules. Copy the attitude of native speakers. You think they all speak perfect grammar? Hell no. But they speak with ownership, with ease, with confidence. And guess what? That's what makes them sound natural. So stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect vocabulary, the perfect sentence. That moment doesn't exist. Fluency is built in the mess, in the chaos, in the 1,000 little mistakes you make while actually using English. And here's the final truth bomb. If you're still scared of speaking wrong, you're training your fear, not your fluency. Let that sink in. Every time you hesitate, every time you correct yourself mid-sentence, every time you mentally translate before speaking, you're building a habit, not of fluency, but of fear. It's not the language holding you back. It's your obsession with being correct. Let me tell you something that'll piss off every old-school English teacher. The most fluent non-native speakers make mistakes all the time. Tenses, prepositions, sentence structures. They mess them up constantly. But do people care? No, because they own the moment. They speak with clarity, rhythm, and confidence. And that matters way more than any grammar rule. You're not in an exam. You're in real life. No one's grading you. No one cares if your sentence was textbook perfect. They care if you were understandable, if you were present, if you actually spoke. Perfection is the enemy of progress. You don't need perfect English. You need functional, fast, fearless English. And to build that, you need to stop training like a student and start training like a speaker. Here's how. You start now. You speak every day. You don't wait for the right words. You force your brain to respond in English, even when it's messy. Especially when it's messy. You want to think in English? Then stop giving your brain the chance to translate. Make English your default, not your backup. And let me be even more blunt. Reading subtitles won't save you. Listening without speaking won't save you. Grammar books won't save you. Only active training rewires your brain. And you don't need a teacher to do it. You just need time, intention, and a little bit of madness. Yes, madness. Because real fluency doesn't come to the quiet, polite, well-behaved learners. It comes to the obsessed ones, the weird ones. The ones who talk to themselves in English in the middle of a crowded bus. Those are the ones who improve. They've stopped waiting. They've stopped apologizing. They've stopped asking, is this the right way? And instead, they just speak every day about anything in any way they can. And slowly, no, rapidly, it starts to click. Words appear faster. Responses feel automatic. Confidence rises. Not because they learned more, but because they activated what they already knew. And that is the whole game. You don't need to study harder. You need to unlock what's already inside you. And that starts with one simple change. You stop training your memory and start training your mouth. Let your tongue trip. Let your brain stumble. Let your accent be weird. Who cares? No one speaks fluently in the beginning, but only those who speak through the discomfort ever reach fluency at all. Remember this. Every time you choose silence, you feed your fear. Every time you open your mouth, no matter how imperfectly, you feed your freedom. So what are you feeding? Let me tell you about a student I had once. Let's call him Min. He had studied English for 10 years, knew all the grammar rules, could write essays that sounded like they came from an English textbook. But when we met for our first speaking session, he froze on the word introduce. I said, "Tell me about yourself." And he just sat there, silent. His face was calm, but his eyes were screaming. I don't know how to start. What if I sound stupid? What if I forget something? What if I say it wrong? That's the trap. His brain had been trained like a library, full of knowledge, but completely useless under pressure. He had never trained for speed, never trained for reflex, never trained for real-life chaos. And the worst part? He thought it was his fault, that he just wasn't talented, that maybe English wasn't for him. But it wasn't about talent. It was about the method, the mindset. So I gave him one rule. You're not allowed to pause to translate. Just speak. Messy, fast, wrong, doesn't matter. He resisted. Said it felt uncomfortable, awkward, stupid. Exactly. Because growth is uncomfortable. Confidence is built in awkwardness. And if you can't sound stupid, you'll never sound fluent. We kept going. 5 minutes a day. No grammar. Just flow. Week by week, his sentences got faster. His eyes got brighter. His tone got stronger. By month 3, he walked into a cafe, ordered coffee in full English, and cracked a joke with the barista. He came to our next session and said, I didn't even think. It just came out. That's the moment. That's when the brain shifts. When English stops being a subject and starts being a skill. And listen, Min wasn't special. He wasn't gifted. He just committed to something most learners never do. Daily, fearless practice. And that's what I'm challenging you to do now. Not when you feel ready. Now. Take your phone, open the recorder, Start speaking. Narrate your thoughts. Describe your day. Tell a fake story. And don't stop to correct yourself. That's a habit of the classroom. You're not in class anymore. You're training for real life. The people who win this game are the ones who don't care how they look while they're improving. They care how they perform once they've trained their minds to stop overthinking. Because that's the real killer of fluency. Overthinking. You think your English isn't good enough? No. Your brain just hasn't been trained to stop second-guessing itself in English. Train the reflex. Silence the fear. Let fluency happen through action, not waiting. Still scared? Good. That means it matters. Now speak anyway. You think fluent speakers don't get scared? They do. But here's the difference. They speak anyway. Fear doesn't go away before action. Fear disappears because of action. The more you speak, the less your brain sees it as a threat. The less it panics, the more it flows. You have to train your nervous system to relax in the discomfort, not wait for it to disappear. And guess what? That only happens by speaking, loudly, badly, often. I don't care if you're talking about your breakfast. I don't care if you stutter, mix up words, forget what tense you're using. Just speak, again and again. Push past the moment your brain wants to shut down. Push through the mental fog. That's where fluency is hiding. Because fluency isn't in your textbooks. It's not in your notes. It's in your voice. And you have to go get it. Now let's talk about pronunciation, the part everyone obsesses over. Want to sound more natural? Stop trying to sound perfect. You're not a robot. You're not an AI voice. You're a human with a mouth, with breath, with rhythm. Native speakers don't pronounce every word perfectly either. They connect. They contract. They slur. They drop sounds. And they speak with energy. Your English doesn't sound unnatural because your sounds are wrong. It sounds unnatural because your energy is flat. Your rhythm is missing. Your personality is hiding. So here's what you do. You stop reading scripts like a student. You start performing them like an actor. Yes, an actor. Take any sentence and say it like you're mad, then sad, then tired, then excited, then like a villain in a movie. Play. Exaggerate. Bend the language. That's how you train your mouth. That's how you unlock fluency. Because if your mouth isn't used to moving in English, it's going to stay stiff forever. Fluency is physical. You don't just learn it. You train it. Like singing, like dancing, like martial arts. This is what the textbooks never tell you. You're not just memorizing a language. You're rewiring your brain. You're retraining your tongue. You're shifting your identity. That takes more than rules. It takes repetition, passion, and a little bit of rebellion. So stop trying to be a perfect student. Be a wild, fearless learner. Start now. Right now. Open your mouth. Make a sound. Say a word. Say 10. Don't stop. Because every moment you wait, your fear wins. Every time you say, I'm not ready. Every time you think my accent is bad. Every time you tell yourself, I'll try tomorrow, you're feeding a lie. The lie that fluency comes after confidence. That somehow, one day, you'll magically wake up fearless. It doesn't work like that. Confidence comes after fluency begins to form, not before. Confidence is the reward for action, not the requirement for it. You think people who speak fluently are brave? They're not. They're just practiced. And you can be too. But only if you drop the image. The one you've been protecting. The one that says, I want to sound smart, I want to sound native, I want to impress. You won't. Not at first. You'll sound awkward. You'll mess up your tenses. You'll forget basic words you know. You'll speak with pauses. You'll repeat yourself. You'll feel like a beginner again. Good. That means you're growing. The only way to sound fluent later is to sound foolish now. There's no shortcut. And let's talk about that word, fluent. What does it even mean? To sound like a native speaker? To speak without errors? To be perfect? Forget that. Real fluency is when English becomes your tool, not your obstacle. When you can express yourself without translating. When you can argue, flirt, laugh, and cry in English. That's fluency. It's human, messy, emotional, alive, and it's possible. For you. Yes, you're reading this. Not someday. Not if you move abroad. Not if you suddenly become good at languages. Now. Because here's the final truth. You already know enough English. You just haven't trained yourself to use it. You've been stuck in input mode, watching, reading, reviewing. Now it's time to shift to output. Speaking, reacting, thinking, failing, fixing, flowing. You don't need more vocabulary. You need to activate what you've got. Right now, your English is like a sports car sitting in a garage. Polished, expensive, admired, but useless. It's not until you get behind the wheel and drive fast and reckless that you start to own it. That's what this is about. Getting in, starting the engine, and driving, even if you crash a few times. Because the ones who crash are the ones who learn, but the ones who stay parked, they never go anywhere. So ask yourself, are you learning English or living it? You want to live it? Then stop studying English like it's math. Start living it like it's music. Music isn't memorized, it's felt, it's moved through the body, it's repeated, practiced, messed up over and over until it becomes second nature. And that's what natural English is. Not knowledge, but rhythm, flow, feeling. You've been taught to analyze. Now it's time to internalize. Let me tell you something that might hurt. You're not stuck because you don't know enough English. You're stuck because you're still trying to speak like a textbook. And guess what? Textbooks don't talk. Textbooks don't laugh. Textbooks don't interrupt you in real life. People do. And people don't wait for you to remember the perfect tense. They're in motion. They speak fast. They change topics. They use slang. They speak like life is happening. And if you're not training for that, you're not training for reality. You want to be fluent? Then you have to train like life is unpredictable. Because it is. You'll get cut off. You'll forget a word. You'll hear an unfamiliar accent. You'll be nervous. You'll sweat. You'll doubt yourself. But the person who's been in that chaos before, who's practiced that feeling, they won't break. They'll breathe, smile, say something, even if it's wrong, and keep the conversation going. That's the speaker who survives. That's the speaker who wins. Now here's what I need you to understand deep in your bones. Fluent speakers don't think in English because they're smarter. They do it because they trained their brains to stop translating. Every moment they chose to speak without planning, every second they forced a messy sentence out instead of staying silent, every time they talked to themselves in English while walking to work, that was the training. And now their mouth and brain are linked. Not perfectly, not grammatically, but naturally. You want that? Then stop asking, how do I say this in English? And start asking, how do I explain this with what I already know? That one shift from translating to expressing changes everything. Because now you're not a student anymore. You're a communicator. And guess what? Communicators get heard. Students get corrected. You choose. Still here? Good. That means something inside you is ready to wake up. You've been lied to for years. That language is about accuracy, that you have to wait until you're ready. That fluency is for the chosen few. Screw that. Fluency is earned by the ones who aren't afraid to sound real. Not robotic. Not perfect. Real. You ever hear someone speak broken English, but with fire in their eyes, rhythm in their voice, and total belief in what they're saying? You listen to them. You feel them. And then you hear another person who speaks textbook perfect sentences but sounds like a dead fish? You tune out, you don't care, because there's no soul behind the words. Don't be the dead fish. Put you into your English, your emotion, your truth, your fire. Because here's what no teacher tells you. Your voice matters more than your vocabulary. If your voice is hesitant, unsure, waiting for permission, then no one's going to listen. But if your voice is alive, bold, expressive, even if your grammar sucks, people will lean in. They'll feel your presence. They'll remember you. So let me ask you again. Why are you learning English? To pass a test? To impress someone? Or to connect, survive, lead, grow? If your answer is anything real, then start training for real life. Not fake conversations in a textbook. Not academic scripts you'll never use. Real talk. Tell a story. Give your opinion. Argue, joke, complain, dream. In English. Even if you suck. Especially if you suck, because sucking is the price of progress. And every time you open your mouth, even if the words come out ugly, you're winning. You're building fluency. You're training confidence. You're rewiring your entire nervous system to stop freezing. That's not easy. It's not comfortable. But it's powerful. So forget about sounding native. Sound like you, just in English. Because no one else can speak like that. That's your edge. You don't need another grammar lesson. You need reps. You need voice. You need ownership. And you need to understand one final truth. The one most learners never want to face. You're not stuck because your English is bad. You're stuck because you're still trying to speak perfectly. Real speakers make mistakes, while you're still afraid to open your mouth.